Okay, welcome back. Episode 2 in our installment of the Elves Mori Gravel Bike build, or swap. So swapability is a made-up word. I'm pretty sure it's not real. I'll ask my newly downloaded Grok just to confirm. If it is, we'll put it up on screen, the official definition. A big part of what I think is really interesting about this gravel buzz is if you've got the budget and you want to go and buy an all-new gravel bike, you absolutely can. There's tons of options out there, well-priced and otherwise. Tons of cool stuff on Bike Hub as well, although I think gravel's still a bit too new for there to be tons of offerings out there. But for anyone that's got a disc brake bike, pretty much any spec, 10, 11, 12 speed, Axis, Shimano, doesn't really matter. If you've got a disc brake bike, you can buy a gravel frame and you can pretty much move everything over. Whether you've got a gravel bike and you just want to upgrade to, have the latest, UDH spec hanger brackets or, lack thereof. If you're just looking to spruce up, the look that you've got, if you're one of those people, you'll have seen the transition of the old bike to the new, by the time you're watching this. Visually, I think, there was a nice upgrade. The Giant was, the color scheme was a little bit mundane. I think this looks absolutely incredible, which is a factor, when you're not trying to win races and be a podium contender. Whatever the reason is, the point is there is a real gap here in terms of being able to buy a frame that's capable of doing, the cedar, or if you're really dumb, the 361, which I'll be doing in a little over a month's time and feeding back on how good or bad that decision was. But the very same bike you can go and do cycle tour on, you can navigate the potholes of Joburg on, go up and down Varput, into Tukai, up to the mast. There's just so much versatility that a gravel bike brings with very few drawbacks. What are some of the drawbacks? Well, they're much fewer than you think. Weight is the most obvious, so it doesn't matter if you're an absolute amateur starting in batch quadruple D of cycle tour or you're in the elites. We all seem to talk about weight and be obsessed on it. Just today we were talking about the 150 grams you can shave off of a crankset if you go from Dura Ace to Cybery. It's just like the shit we find interest in is hilarious, but that's what makes us cyclists, so whatever. I'm not there to battle that, but you can build up a road version of one of these bikes at under 8 kgs with relative ease. You can quite easily build a more modest spec and a lot more sturdy gravel offering at in the mid 8s up to the mid 9s, depending on so many different variables. So weight for me is almost a non-starter. My Emonda of a few years ago, Ultegra spec was 7.8 kgs, and I considered that a really well-spec'd road bike at the time. And these bikes are knocking in and around that weight as do-it-all bikes. Going over to gravel, I think the biggest thing people don't realize, your number one biggest asset is your tires and your tire pressure. And this takes a 45C tire or a 50C on the 600B, if I'm not mistaken. So there's more than enough width there. Some people might be looking for more. This maybe isn't the gravel bike for you then if you're looking for 50 and beyond. But that gives you a lot of versatility. That's the few races that I've done, Cedar, Gallows, George back to Cape Town, the 361, which yes, I only got to 280 Ks of before flagging out, but it's more than enough. It's more your body getting used to it than anything else. So that range, the fact that from home I can go up, again, maybe not intelligently, Varpot to the mast, come back down, go and do a savage loop on a Tuesday, all with the same bike, all with the same foundation, I think is really, really appealing. And I think more people are looking for that than ever before. So that swapability is really big. You might not have the budget to get, all the gravel components, the wheels, that kind of stuff. You could move your road stuff over and just have that base to start with. And it's then a case of adding on the tires. The wheels that are on this bike at the moment and that I had on my Giant and did all the races I mentioned, were Bontrager road wheels that I just put gravel tires onto. These are the Valor TH30s from Elves, which is also part of their road offering. They've got a nice wide internal rim width. So far, they've held up to all the punishments. They make these things really strong, like really and truly. And I've just put a set of Challenge 45s on there, and it works absolutely perfectly. So I changed the frame, and I put a set of wheels on, and I'm now equipped to go and do this. And I think that's really a really exciting part of the gravel offering, and a big part of what I've enjoyed about this. So we swapped out. We went from a giant Revolt, which weighed 9.6 kgs. We did get a picture of it, so the fact finders can go and check that over there, and did a straight swap over of all the components onto this bike, and we came in at just over 9. I then went through the UDH process, which we'll talk about in the next video. That shaved a bit more off, and with pedals, the whole build was at 8.9. I've got the heavy, mountain bike Shimano pedals on there. Played around with tires, road wheels on, road wheels off. I mean, it's just like you can swap, play, and adjust around forever and ever. And there's nothing it hasn't been able to do. It is extremely competent on the road. All the gravel I've done thus far has been, obviously it's quite jarring when you get on it, so it takes a bit of getting used to it at like a body level. But once you get used to the, riding the gravel, it's been absolutely phenomenal. Comparable at minimum to the Giants from a gravel point of view. So it's a big part of gravel. I think there's a absolute rabbit hole of options that one can go down, and that's supposed to be the fun part. Lean into that, enjoy that, nerd out with it, and also know that it's not the end of the world if maybe you got a tire choice wrong. Whatever the case is, you can put your stuff on the hub, flog it, and replace it with whatever you need. But I think lean into and enjoy that process. And if you are, this is a good platform to build up from. As always, if you have any questions, if there's any comments, anything you disagree with or agree with, please leave them down below, and shout in if there's anything you think we've missed or that you'd like covered. Chat soon.